Hey y'all, this is Jessica with Bless Your Heart. Let's make a watermelon V-split ombre tumbler today. I'm going to start by getting what approximate center is by using the seams on my lid, and I'm going to mark that from the top of the cup to the bottom of the cup on both sides. Once I get that done and I'm happy with my placement of the lines, I'm going to prepare my vinyl. I'm going to use Melon Love from the Glitter Guy. And for my glitter choices today, I'm going to use Peachy Olive Glitter Cheermeister. And I'm going to use the Glitter Guy Undercover Moss, Akoya, and Pinkle. To make my triangle, I'm going to go in and I'm just going to use a measuring tape, and I'm going to figure out what middle is between my two lines that I have made from top to bottom. I'm going to go in and do 2 inches on one side of one of the lines and 2 inches on the other side of one of the lines. Then I will figure out top to bottom how long I want my V. And that is going to end up being 7 inches. So I'm going to use my paper trimmer to trim me a 4x7 little block, and then I'm going to go in and show you how I cut my V's. An easy way to get your V is to go in and fold your little piece that you have that you're going to make your V out of in half at the bottom and make the tiniest little crease. So we're going to go from the top corner to that little crease you just made in the bottom, and you're going to do that on both sides. And you're going to end up with a near perfect V to move on to the next step. To get this placed on our cup, we're going to go in and make the same little seam on the top of this vinyl, and that's going to help us center this as best as we possibly can. And this center is those little 2-inch hash marks that we made when we measured how wide we wanted our V. To place this on our cup, we're going to be using the hinge method. You can see that I'm moving it ever so slightly down from that top edge, and that's just so we can create the best seal possible. Once we get this placed where we want it, I'm going to use my squeegee and kind of just smooth everything down. This vinyl is pretty forgiving, so you can move it and manipulate it if you need to. Just make sure you kind of smooth out all your bubbles and you try your best not to crease the actual vinyl itself. Once you're happy with your placement, we're going to go in and we're going to tape off the actual piece of vinyl. We have done no other prep work to this cup other than to put the vinyl on, so that's what we're going to get ready to do next. Now that we have this all taped off and we've got our vinyl as protected as possible, I'm going to go in and just take a sanding block. You can get these at Dollar Tree. You can get them off Amazon. They're just one of my favorites to use because you can kind of control where it goes. So we're going to sand this whole entire cup. I'm going to spray a paper towel down with rubbing alcohol, and I'm going to wipe it off, and we're going to get ready for the next step. I'm going to go in and use this Prime Time as a base coat for my tumbler. I'm going to paint this all over the exposed stainless, and then we're going to get ready for glitter. Once that paint dries, we're going to go in and I'm going to use the epoxy method for my glitter adhesion today. I am just using some Flynn Sisters Fast Set, and I'm going to apply this everywhere that the paint is, and we are going to start our glittering process. For the glitter, we're going to start with our darkest color, which is this darkest green, and I'm going to go full coverage at that bottom rim. I do not want this to come very high up, so this is a very slight angle, and I am still aiming my glitter at that rim and just kind of letting it flick on its own closer to the top. After this, I'm going to go in with that undercover moss, which is the lighter green. And I'm going to tilt it back towards the green, tilt my cup back towards the green, and kind of let that fall down into those little holes that we did not cover. And then I'm going to tilt it a little bit more the other way because this has some of that iridescence through it, so it's going to help that pink that we're fixing to put on blend a little bit better. For the pink is going to go in at the very top. And I'm going to go full coverage around that top rim, and then I'm going to hold my cup almost completely vertical to get this to go as far down as we can on the cup without completely overtaking that little space between the pink and the light green. Once we're happy with that, we're going to take the sequoia and we're going to go right between the pink and the light green. And I am just going to shake this back and forth. I'm not really going to try to blend it in per se, just so we have a little bit of that white poking through. After we get finished with that, we are going to immediately remove the tape that we have put over our vinyl. We're going to set this to the side and we're going to let this layer of epoxy dry. Once that layer of epoxy dries, I take a look at my cup and I don't really like the bright of the pink. So I'm going to go in with this West Texas Glitter Bubble Gum and I'm going to apply it over the pink that we already have there. I'm going to do a very hefty coat of glitter glue, and I'm going to pull the glitter glue down further than what I want the pink to go because I don't want that harsh line of where it stops, the glue just ends, and then we have no blending to our glitters at all. I went a little crazy with the glitter glue, but we're going to clean up our mess, and then I'm going to start the exact same way. Full coverage at that top rim, and we're just going to let it fall where it may. There's still going to be enough of that white showing that we're going to be okay. After that dries, I'm going to go in and do a coat of polyacrylic over all of my glitter, and then I'm going to go back in and do another coat of polyacrylic over the entire cup. And this is going to help ensure that my vinyl doesn't lift either, and that it kind of takes away that chance of the epoxy repelling from the vinyl because I have touched it so much. Once all of my polyacrylic dries, I'm going to get a layer of epoxy on this, let it sit, and then I'm going to do a light sanding because we're going to get ready for our vinyl striping. For my vinyl striping, I'm just going to use a nail tape. I'm going to use this real pretty holographic pink and then this little bitty glittery green. I'm going to start with the pink and I'm going to do it on both sides of the V. And then I'm going to take that little sliver of green tape and put that directly on top of this pink. And we're going to see how it turns out. Once we're done with the vinyl striping, we're going to take a look at our handiwork and decide if we like it. And so far, so good. I don't think it looks too bad. Now we're going to go on to the decal. This is just something that I made up in Silhouette Studio, and I did 2 offsets of our original decal. And I'm going to do the same thing that I always do. I'm going to start with the very top of the decal, which is our white, and I'm going to use the parchment method to get it placed on our offsets. We're going to make sure that we leave enough of that transfer tape overhanging so we have kind of like an anchor. And we're going to go to the middle offset, line it up, press our anchor point down, pull the parchment out, and we have a really good decal. So we're going to do the exact same thing with this. We're going to take this off the backing, place it on the parchment, place the entire thing on our very bottom offset. When we have it lined up how we want it, we're going to push our little anchor piece down. We're going to slip out that parchment, and then we are going to be right as rain with this decal, and we're going to get it placed on the cup. To place our decal, I'm going to stand our cup up straight, and we're going to kind of get it as centered as possible between the 2 tips of that V. I'm going to use my little squeegee to kind of press this down as best I can. We're going to take off the transfer tape, and this is where I think that we need a top and a bottom vinyl striping. So I'm just going to go in and use 2 pieces of vinyl that I have scrapped up, and I'm going to do the dark green on the very bottom, and then I'm going to do that pink on the top. This vinyl striping kind of solves a couple of little problems for us. The main one is it finishes off the cup, but this is also going to seal in those little nail tape pieces that we have put across our V's, and that's going to kind of give us a little bit of an insurance that they're not going to kind of tweak up on us. So once we get the green at the bottom, and then like I said, we're going to put the pink at the top, and we're going to make sure that this does go over all of those nail tapes, and then we are going to epoxy until smooth. I do go in and use this Nikki secret sauce in one of our final layers of epoxy, just to add some sparkle. And here we go. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. I hope to see you again soon. Bye.